What's up everyone and welcome back. We've got another image sent in by Care for Art. So if you guys like his content here, like what you see, you can go give him a follow down in the description. So looking at his feed, you can see there's a real creaminess to the images and I really like this, big fan. So we're going to be working with this image right here, trying to recreate the exact edit with the exact same photo. So if you like his content, go check him out. And let's get into Lightroom and see what we can do. Pre-edited raw file. So as you can see, we have cropped it for Instagram 4x5. And let's get straight into it. So I'm gonna really drop the contrast because I'm gonna put a lot of contrast in with the color curves. So dropping it a lot for now. Highlights, bring up these shadows, so flattening out even more. And we can add in some contrast with the colors now. So doing an S-curve in the red, green and blue channels. Okay, so added in quite a bit of contrast with those curves, before and after, of just the curves. Now, as you can see, there's quite a bit of fade to his images, so putting in a good amount of fade with this curve. Right, so it's a little bit of a fade, and we've got enough contrast in the color curves. We don't need to do an S-curve on this one here. So big thing to his images is it's nice and soft and creamy, and that comes about a lot with using the clarity, dropping it down. As you can see, if I bring it all the way down, all the way up, bringing it down quite a bit, and Haze will also contribute to that. So as you can see, we want just a tiny bit of added haze. So now a lot of this image is gonna be done with filters and such, so keep that in mind. And we'll come down here and do some colors. Actually, we'll do a vignette. And then I'll actually do quite a bit of split toning, so we want really warm highlights. The entire image looks a little too warm, so I'm going to really cool it down. Add a bit more greens in there. But now we have really warm highlights, and our whole image isn't too warm. So we're going to go down to calibration. So it's very hard to see if someone is using calibrations in their edits. So he's helped me out with a few of these settings. Alright, so we need to try to get these colors pretty close, and then we've got to do quite a few filters to bring out all these dark spots. Right, so yellows, we obviously need to really warm up our greens. Right, dropping most of our saturations. Definitely bringing those greens down. And there's quite a few blues hanging around. Drop them. Luminance, so brightness. We're going to do a lot of filters, so doesn't matter too much. Drop the greens. And we want to drop the sharpening. That will help towards the creaminess of the images, and a bit of denoise. And we'll try removing chromatic aberration. Okay, so now we want to create a few filters to really bring out the haziness and brightness of some of these areas. So the very first one I'm going to do is just this big one right in the middle here. Okay, so I want to add a lot of warmth. Some exposure. Drop the contrast. That'll help create a haze. Shadows, gonna bring down. Blacks, I'm gonna bring down. And then we've already really brought down the clarity. I'm going to bring it up because then we get a bit of that shape back into it. And drop the feathering a tad. And I'm pretty happy with that one. Actually, a bit more warmth. we're good. Gonna do another filter, gonna bring out this corner. And I'm gonna do a lot of the same. Gonna chuck in a lot of warmth, exposure, we don't want this one as hazy, so might keep the contrast up a bit. Highlights I'm going to keep up. Whites, that helps with that glow. And drop those blacks for a little bit of contrast. And maybe a bit of haziness in there by dropping the clarity. And dropping the filter on that one a bit as well. Alright, so we need to bring out this corner now, so we're going to do a lot of the same up there as well. Right, so exposure, warmth, highlights, doesn't do too much. Just gonna go with this pretty much the same as the last one. Those whites helps with that glow. Dropping the clarity, a little bit of haze. And feathering can come down a little bit again. Alright, so I think we're looking pretty good. Might want. Okay, so you can see in our image we're lacking a bit of a glow around the spot here. So filter. Tiny bit of exposure. Lifting the blacks can give quite a hazy look as well. That I find helps a lot. And then we can add in haze. This as well. And not too bad. Right, so I want to bring out the haziness and the light streaks in this area here. As you can see, there's a bit more in his one. So brush. see what Haze does. And add in some warmth. And I'm kind of happy with that. Might take a little away from there. And I think we're looking a little too warm, so I'm going to drop the saturation of the yellows. Going to make those greens a little more green. And I want to take out a bit of the blues in the highlights here. So I'm going to drop the aqua. And I think those blacks, the darkest areas, can be a little darker, so bringing them up. And I think we're looking pretty good. Here's our before, after. And so there's one other thing that's kind of obvious, and he's way smaller in his image and way larger in our image. So we're going to go into Photoshop and I'm going to show you how to do that. So come up here to help and type in Photo Shop, edit in Adobe Photoshop. So very first thing we want to do is duplicate our background. Now on this layer we need to select what we want to cut out. So I'm going to grab this tool here. I'm going to zoom in. And do my best job at selecting around the subject we want to cut out. And if you hold Alt, you can remove what you've selected. Okay, so once you've made your selection, double click, layer via copy, and now we have a cutout layer of just what we've cut out. So that's all we have there. And now you want to come back to this layer, the original one with everything, drag it on top of the cutout one. And now what we want to do is remove our subject from the image. So if we grab a clone stamp tool, and we want to clone stamp our subject completely out of the image. So if you hold Alt, you can sample from here, drag across and place it down on top. Right, so do the best job you can without leaving any edges. Any harsh edges. Want to make it look as natural as possible. And then once you have them removed from the image and you're happy with how tidy you have it, to drag your layer with just the cutout person on top of the layer you just cut him out of. So now he's back in there. But since we cut them out before, we can select them. So if you come up here, this is what we cut out earlier, and we can adjust his size. So now he is smaller. So if we turn these layers on and off, and if we turn, that's our original, and we've made him quite a bit smaller. So if you want to bring this back into Lightroom again, you come up to File, Save. And then if we go back into Lightroom, and when you come back into Lightroom, the image will be right here. So we can look at before the image went into Photoshop and after. And if you wanted them to blend in maybe a little better, you might want to do some brushing over top, smooth out the edges. And what's making them smaller does is just makes them look smaller in his environment, makes the environment look more grand. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one, guys. So if you want to, you can go give him a follow down in the description. If you like his content, you can give myself a follow down there as well. And comment down below who you guys want to see. That way I can reach out to them on Instagram, ask them to send in a photo, and hopefully do a tutorial on them. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you're liking these tutorials, you'll like the presets. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you in the next one.